Saudi Arabia has officially abolished the Kafala system. This is good news for migrant workers who go to Saudi Arabia for employment. Because of the Kafala system, migrant workers had to face many problems and it led to their exploitation. News reports emerged regularly about employers violating the rights of foreign workers. The Kafala system was highly exploitative. So now, with the end of this system, it will become easier for migrant workers to work in Saudi Arabia. They will not be exploited and they will be able to work more freely. The problem with the Kafala system is that it did not give freedom to migrant workers. In it, the employer was the ultimate authority and all power rested with them. Without the employer's permission, foreign workers could not change their job, could not legally leave the country. In a way, they became bound to the employer. Regardless of the circumstances or whether they liked the work or not, workers could not make decisions on their own. They had to take permission from their employer for everything. This means workers were completely dependent on their employer. From the work visa to the residency permit, everything was managed by the local employer. The full legal responsibility for migrant workers rested with the employer. The local employer was the sponsor or guarantor of the foreign workers. In Arabic, a sponsor or guarantor is called a kafil, and this sponsorship system is called the Kafala system. The Kafala system had existed in Saudi Arabia for a long time. All foreign workers who came to work in Saudi Arabia had to sign a contract with a local employer. After that, for as long as they stayed in the country, they could work only with that specific employer. They did not have the option to change their job. They could not work anywhere else. With the employer with whom the contract was signed, who is their sponsor, they could work only for that employer as long as they stayed in the country. So this system completely restricted the workers' independence and mobility. For everything, they had to take permission from their sponsor. That person became their guardian and protector. This gave employers undue advantage. They started exploiting the workers. They made them work under extreme conditions, did not pay salaries on time, and seized workers' passports so that they could not legally leave the country. For cost cutting, many workers were crammed into small spaces like goods. Overall, migrant workers had to live and work in very pathetic conditions. In a way, it would not be wrong to call it modern-day slavery. All these problems exist in the Kafala sponsorship system. The Kafala system still exists in many Middle Eastern countries such as Lebanon, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, the UAE, Oman, etc. You might remember that the FIFA World Cup was held in Qatar in 2022. That year, the Kafala system was widely discussed in the news. Qatar had brought in millions of migrant workers to prepare for the World Cup. These workers mostly came from the South Asian countries like India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Under the Kafala system, they were legally tied to their employers. These workers built Qatar's infrastructure, stadiums, roads, metro lines, hotels, and more. During this period, the dark side of the Kafala system came to light. Migrant workers had to work under highly exploitative conditions. Their passports were confiscated so they could not escape, their wages were not paid on time, and they were mistreated. They were forced to work in extreme heat. Thousands of people lost their lives. At that time, the Kafala system came into the spotlight. Qatari officials and Kafala sponsors had to face criticism. After this, Qatar did introduce some reforms, but they were not enough. The Kafala sponsorship system still exists today in Qatar and several other countries. However, under Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabia has decided to abolish the Kafala system so that migrant workers can work more freely. Mohammed bin Salman, under his Vision 2030, wants to diversify Saudi Arabia's oil-dependent economy. He wants to make Saudi Arabia a global hub for innovation, investment, and tourism. He aims to reduce the country's dependence on oil. To boost Saudi Arabia's economy, he wants to attract workers from all over the world. It is clear that, for this, it was necessary to end exploitative systems like Kafala, and that is exactly what Saudi Arabia did. The country decided to abolish the Kafala system. In its place, a new contract system will be introduced, which will provide workers with greater independence and mobility. Once their contract is completed, workers will be able to work elsewhere and seek new employment. For this, they will not need the approval of their previous employer. This means workers will no longer be forced to remain tied to a single employer. If a worker wants to travel or leave the country, they can simply notify their employer. The decision-making freedom will lie with the worker, and they will not need the employer's permission. In a way, the new contractual model will give workers more freedom. This will increase the global appeal of Saudi Arabia's labor market. People will want to work in Saudi Arabia. In the Kafala system, workers had very limited resources against abuse by employers. They could not do much. They had to endure exploitation. Just think, even cases of human trafficking had come to light. Now, with the removal of the Kafala system, the violation of migrant workers' rights will stop and labor exploitation will end. This will improve Saudi Arabia's image globally. Saudi Arabia will be able to attract global talent. It will also set an example for other countries in the region. Gradually, other countries will also think about removing the Kafala system. To transform Saudi Arabia into a thriving and globally competitive economy, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman wants to complete mega projects such as Neom City and the Red Sea tourism development. For this, foreign expertise and skilled professionals will be required, making these labor reforms absolutely essential. Bahrain had already abolished the Kafala system long before Saudi Arabia. The UAE has also significantly diluted the Kafala system. Because if you want workers to come and work in your country, you must improve their working conditions. You have to design the system and adjust the rules in such a way that it becomes attractive for workers. Only then will workers migrate to your country and contribute to your economy. You should create such a good environment that workers choose to work in your country. That is why Saudi Arabia is focusing on making its labor market more flexible. As workers' independence and mobility increase, their efficiency and productivity will also rise. Around 13 million migrant workers work in Saudi Arabia, out of which nearly 2.5 million are Indians. Now Saudi Arabia has understood that if it wants to compete globally, it must align itself with international standards. It will have to enhance the wage protection system for workers, strengthen the anti-trafficking system, and improve the working environment, among other things. That is why Saudi Arabia is abolishing the Kafala system and introducing a new contractual system. In this system, contracts will be based on mutual agreement. There will be clear terms regarding working hours, wages, and benefits. Labor courts will be established to handle disputes. A more open and rights-focused labor market will be created. Now, the announcement has been made, but it remains to be seen how its implementation takes place on the ground. Hopefully, it will be properly implemented so that workers get better conditions to work in.